Good morning. Jane, it's Monday.
It is.
Again.
Magic Monday. They come and keep coming, don't they?
I know. I can't believe it's 10th of July. It's
No.
ridiculous.
It's just crazy.
I don't know where the year's whipping by to.
No.
Honestly.
It's just flying by.
And before we know it, we'll say, I'm not ready for Christmas and we haven't done any wrapping and
Yeah.
I don't know. Does anyone else find the year's flipping by far too quickly?
Absolutely.
And our calendar quilt is flipping over each month and by quicker than we anticipated as well,
yes.
isn't it?
We're in September.
We are. Not really. It's July.
Well, we know it's July.
We're making September's block today, aren't we, Jane?
Yes. We like to be 2 months in front so
Mhm.
that you've got the chance to get your kit and make it before the actual time.
That's
if you
right.
want to. We're not making you.
Today is our perpetual calendar show, the calendar quilt. Jane, this has been rumbling on for a little while now. We started
Yes.
in November with January's block.
We
and
did.
then have been working, like you say, 2 months ahead each month. It's a lovely project, this one.
It's nice because it's just a little taster of things. So just have a little go
Yes.
and decide that you like it and you're going to do more of it, or you can think, no, it's not for me. I'll just do this block and that'll be it for me. Thank you very much.
Exactly that.
So yeah,
We
nice
seem
little
to
taster.
have- No, that needs to go away. We seem to have a comment on our show saying that we've got Lewis and Irene Snuggly flannel fabrics. That was last Wednesday. I've clearly, when I've posted that up the other day, have managed to make it so that it comes on today's show as well.
Oh,
Sorry
right.
about that, everybody.
You
I'm
can't get any more of the snuggly
You
flannel.
can't.
We tried. We had a lot of people asking
We did.
and we can't get it.
We
We
did.
tried. We've been in touch with Lewis and Irene and they haven't got any more left.
No, we order our fabrics really far in advance, months and months and months, sometimes
Yeah.
over a year in advance, sometimes 18 months. And that particular fabric collection was very, very popular indeed. And yeah,
I think it's because we
Whipped
don't
by
get
it,
flannels so much, or brush cottons as we like
Yeah.
to call them in the UK. We don't get them so much here. So when they do come, we're like, oh yeah, have that, thank you very
they were
much.
particularly beautiful as well because we had bumbleberry ones and they were gorgeous.
Yes,
Bluebell wood
wood
wintry
is
bluebell wood
gorgeous.
ones.
Yeah.
Jane, we've got viewers.
Good,
And they
that's
seem to be
good.
commenting, which would tell me they can hear us, which is great. Jimmy says good morning. And Sue's with us as well. And Joy, who says good morning, Gemma and Jane. Good morning.
Morning,
So
everybody.
yeah, and everyone's saying good morning to each other, so that's lovely as well. Let's check our YouTubers can see and hear us, shall we? Let's just have a little peek.
That would be handy if they
It
can.
looks like everything is live and running okay there as well.
That's good.
Fingers crossed, because not everything's coming through to me this morning. I'm getting a limited amount of commentary, but hopefully you can see and hear us because it is Magic Monday. Jane, this month's make,
Yes.
this month's block,
Yes.
uses our beautiful batiks, doesn't it?
It does.
Tell us about batiks.
Batiks are a lovely fabric. They're slightly different from the cotton. They are cotton, but they're a closer weave than our normal quilting weight cottons. So they're really lovely to work with. They fray slightly less than ordinary cottons, but because they're batiks and they've got like a different pattern on them, it's smoke batiks, the ones that we've got. It's very rarely that you find the same piece of design. It's got mottled colour on it.
Shall I go overhead and they can have
Yeah.
a little peep and see what we're talking about? Because we've got
Some
a
of
few
them-
samples here, haven't we?
Some of them have got, like this is just tonal, so you've got the greys there, but you can see it's very rare that there's a complete piece
Not a
that looks,
printed
no,
pattern,
it's
is
not
it?
a regular pattern on it, so you can get some quite nice effects with it. Sometimes there's two colours, like this one. So that's got a browny or red pinky tone to it as well. So again, it just gives you a variety of tones in your fabric. So when you're piecing with it, it can give you some really nice effects.
It also makes me think about tie-dye fabrics from when you were at school, Jane.
it's
And
very
you know,
similar.
the salt and all sorts of
Yeah.
things used in batiks, aren't there? Which
Sometimes
create
you
that
get
effect.
patterns printed on. They're printed on with wax, and
Yes.
then they're washed off after the print's been done. So you get some nice patterns. So you do get printed batiks as well.
Yeah.
But the ones we've got are just
the most incredible blend.
blended fabrics, and they make great blenders, and they're really great for your piecing and borders and backing.
Yes. And we've got a
Which-
kit today for today's block.
Yes, we have.
But last week I put a few of the batiks out as bolt ends because we
Yes.
had got to that stage. If you don't know at home, maybe you've not seen us before, in which case, hello, nice to see you. We're here in the UK and we do shows Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. And the way that we work here at Natasha Makes is we have our fabric, we cut them to order, we use them for kits. But sometimes, because we haven't got a huge amount of space here, we're a very tiny team, very small business, we might have a bit left on a bolt.
Yes.
And it's taking up space and we've got new things coming in. So we will grab that end of bolt piece and we will take it off the cardboard bolt, we'll weigh it, measure it, and we'll list it up as a bolt end item. So you get those at a fantastic discount. Sometimes you might find they're a little over a metre or a little under a metre, but a lot of them can be anything up to 3 metres, can't they, Jane?
Yes,
Or maybe a little bit more sometimes.
Which is
it
great
quilt
for
backing?
quilt backing,
Yeah.
or you know, if you some people like to cut their borders in a continuous piece. They don't like to have joins. So if you get a 3 metre piece, that's perfect,
Yeah.
because you can cut it along the length of the fabric and you get no joins, which is lovely.
Yeah, dressmaking, and they're just a great stash builder as well.
Yeah.
So we put some of these up last week just as a little treat, and they disappeared in milliseconds. And some of you may be disappointed that you missed out on those bolt ends. I know we've had emails saying as much. So we're putting a few more on today, but we don't have extras to keep going.
No,
because,
we
you know,
don't.
this is how it is. We don't have a huge stock of the batiks. So Jane, I think we'll have a look at the bolt ends first, if
Yeah,
that's all right.
that's
Can we
fine.
go overhead? Because I know
Yeah.
you like an excuse to do some lovely fabric stroking.
Well, this is it.
Oh,
This is
she
a
says.
nice.
Wrong camera angle. We're close up today, although that's not a bad
This is a
plan.
lovely sort of bluey grey colour. Now there's only 0.6 of a metre there, so that's a nice piece for your stash.
Yeah.
That will do piecing, binding.
Create some blocks. That'd be
Um,
lovely for a plique.
Yeah,
You know, your Halloween
it's-
makes, you're doing
it's
bats or
absolutely
spiders
super.
or-
Yeah, it gives a really good sort of
Fabulous.
effect. This is the green one I was showing earlier that's got this, so it's sort of like a pinky brown tone running through it as well.
Lovely.
These are great for art quilts, batiks are as well. So like if you're doing backgrounds and stuff like that, it gives you lots of scope there. That's a 3 metre piece. We've got a 4 metre piece of this beautiful, vibrant yellow. Look at that. That's just joyful.
Lovely, lovely backing, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Because
beautiful.
I do think the back of your quilt deserves to have a little
Oh,
moment to turn, be as beautiful as
absolutely.
the front.
Um,
Gorgeous.
That's gorgeous. This is a nice, almost mauvey blue, and again it's got this brown, sort of mossy colour running through it, which gives it a nice effect.
What I love with these is that you get that real feeling of, you know, when you go and dig and have a look around and find gems and
Yes.
you get that vein through them, don't you?
Yeah, that's exactly what that's like. It's almost like jewels, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a
It's like
3
going in a
metre
crystal
piece.
shop and finding really beautiful pieces.
Oh, yes.
This one.
I love this
May
one.
come home with me. There's another couple of.
This is a very vibrant blue, and it's got a purple tone running through it. Look at that.
Festival dress or some festival
That
trousers.
is gorgeous.
Amazing pair of festival wrap trousers. Can you imagine?
They'd be beautiful, wouldn't they?
Really lovely.
That's got a 3.8 metre piece, so that's a really good size piece. This is a lovely vibrant pink. That's rather lovely. That's a nice bright colour for you. That's
Lovely.
a 3 metre piece.
It's a really nice raspberry tone, isn't it? That
Yeah,
one?
it's
like that.
vibrant. This is a nice red as well, and this is like a primary red, so it's a nice true red, as some people like to call
I'm
it.
going strawberry on here, so we've got raspberry, strawberry. I'm all
Yes.
out of food this morning.
Well,
it's
that's
only just
nothing
gone
new.
10.
So this is for us. We
It's
generally
terrible.
end up talking about food. That's a 3 metre piece.
Yeah,
so
if you
again,
are new
great
here,
size pieces.
We do end up talking about food, and there's a song for every occasion. So, you know,
Yeah.
perhaps you're our clan. Perhaps that's you.
This is a
Look
beautiful
at
plum
that.
colour.
It is, isn't it, Jane?
Yes.
All the fruits
Damson
this
maybe.
morning.
Gorgeous. Look at that.
Nice.
It's lovely tonal fabric.
Fabulous.
And that is a 3 metre piece as well.
Lovely.
We've got this gorgeous grey here. This is a real classic. And again, if you're doing art quilts and you want something for rocks or mountains, this is the sort of
Icy
thing
blue
you
tones
need.
through it as well.
Yeah,
though. Really pretty.
it's a lovely bluey grey colour.
Stunning.
Really, really useful piece of fabric. That's a 3 metre piece as well.
I've used these fabrics as well to make little sort of halter neck bra tops for my daughter when she
Yeah,
goes to
they're
festivals
lovely-
and what she wears in
lovely.
the summer.
And because it's cotton, it's a nice breathable
Lovely.
fabric, so it does make nice clothing.
Doesn't it look great?
That is a nice vibrant green, and it's got a little bit of turquoise running through it.
I
So
was pop
sea
the,
colours
pop
for
them in
me.
the machine first, though, Jane, with a colour catcher, just to grab any
Absolutely,
loose
yeah,
dye
because
of the
they
way that
are-
they're created.
They are hand dyed, aren't they? Really.
Yes.
So yes, they can bleed. So if you're worried about that, if you're not sure, what I tend to do is I get a cotton bud dip it in some water and rub it on like you would a
okay.
pencil. And if the
Just to
dye comes
see,
off,
yeah,
then I know I
okay.
need to wash it.
Nice. Top
This
stitching.
has got beautiful blues
Look
and
at
pinks
this.
running through it. That is just stunning.
Again, fabulous item to do some
Yeah,
dressmaking with.
it's
as well as
lovely, isn't it?
fabric.
You can see kimono jackets made with this.
Yes.
It's just lovely.
I love that.
That's a 3 metre piece.
Caftans.
Yeah, I can't
Fantastic.
see that one hanging around.
No.
This, I think this one's my favourite. This is a really deep, rich purple.
Stunning.
It's really rich. It's a real royal purple.
It's got a real sort of navy blue tone to it as
Yes.
well, though, Jen. You're going to see it as blue in some lights and navy in others.
Yeah.
And it's lovely.
It's gorgeous.
But it's indigo, isn't it, then,
Yeah.
on that basis? We'll go with that.
And it isn't a large piece, this one. It's a 1.6 metre piece.
Jane, I don't want this next one to go either.
No,
this
this
is my other
is
piece I want to take.
fabulous. This is stormy
This is the-
seas,
yeah,
isn't it?
Exactly that. This is the ocean, is what I was about to say. Exactly
That is a lovely, rich, deep blue. It looks a little bit grey on our screen, but it's not. It's a vibrant, it's almost turquoisey blue, isn't it, in areas?
It certainly is.
It's a gorgeous, nice, rich blue.
It's
And
lovely.
that is a nice, chunky 4 metre piece. So there's some lovely bits there
Amazing.
with a nice little bit of discount on.
Yep. Like we say, they won't hang around.
Bargains.
If
No,
last week's
they
anything to go by,
they don't stay
they will
around for long.
disappear. They will for sure. Jane, over on YouTube we have Diane who says good morning, and Cynthia from Ohio.
Ohio.
She says
Oh,
greetings
I bet
all.
she's sick of that. I
I
bet
know,
she's like,
she's
here we
really-
go.
I know.
So
Sorry,
original.
Cynthia. But she's giving us a little wave and she's got a coffee on the go. So,
Oh, nice.
Nice to see
Nice.
you too, Cynthia.
Lovely.
We also have lots of lovely viewers saying nice things this morning over on Facebook, which is great.
That's good to know.
We have Sue and Grace and Joy. And Debbie says, good morning, Jane, Gemma and team, plus everyone too.
Nice.
Kirsty Robson says, morning, early start for me this morning, washing on the line by 6:30.
Oh my goodness.
So lovely out there today. We
It's
make the most
beautiful
of it.
morning, wasn't
It's
it?
a bit rainy over the weekend.
Oh, we had a massive storm yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
God
I was
damn.
painting the bathroom though.
Oh,
You know when
were
you want a new bathroom and you've got this idea of grandeur, that you've seen gorgeous things in magazines and then you remember that you don't have the budget. I did that.
Yes. Or you remember, like me, that your bathroom's about 2 foot by 2
It's
foot.
tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours is too. So this is the one that Meg uses. This is purple.
Oh, how lovely.
So yeah, gave it a good old paint. I had a blind made,
Nice.
not a fabric blind. I'd have made that myself, but I had a roller blind made.
Yes.
So that came through. Yeah, it's nearly done. Picking up a bath panel today. Got to paint that. I've got to put some polyacrylic sealant on everything, and then I shall share some pics. I'm quite
Lovely.
pleased.
Nice.
Feels like I've got a new bathroom without putting a new bathroom in.
Yes.
Great.
It's
What were you
amazing
up
what
to
a
this
lick of
weekend?
paint can do.
Yeah.
I've been with my son Isaac and my granddaughter this weekend. So I've had lots of iris cuddles, which has
She's
been
growing.
lovely.
She's
Yes.
growing fast.
It's getting bigger and bigger. Bigger and bigger.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. And they're so cheeky when they get to that age now. Because how old is she now? She's like,
She's coming up to 4
I
months.
was
Yeah.
going to say around 4 months. They
Yeah.
just really start to get cheeky.
Yes.
And they sort of giggle at things. They notice stuff more.
Yeah,
and-
she's starting to sort of try and talk. She's like babbling, you know,
Yeah.
making noises. It's
Love
lovely.
it.
Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly it goes.
I know.
It's crazy. Joe Standage is with us, says good morning everyone, and Kirsty says this fabric is so lush,
It is.
isn't it just? And today's kit is made from this fabric. Jane's going to quickly recap the project so far because you might be new to us and you might think, well, I quite like the look of this. You can't see the top row of the calendar quilt. It's 12 blocks that you could make into the perpetual calendar. We don't have the stand, but Jane gives you instructions on how to create a hanging system. You could create them all individually, you could create the quilt, you could do both, potentially, from your kit.
Yes,
So,
you can.
yes, the first row of blocks, Jane will show you now if I go to the overhead, and you can see what you've missed so far. Where possible, we've loaded previous month's kits. If there is one that's showing us sold out and you really want it, just pop us an email, info@natashamakes.com, and we will do our best to see if we can put something together. There are some key components here and there that are missing, and that we may not be able to replace. So we
Yes.
apologise.
We do our
But it was a
best.
fastest finger first situation.
Yes.
And all of our products are on our website, natashamakes.com. You can get those to be delivered within the UK. We do a limited amount within Europe, internationally, those there further afield types. We have our instructions digitally available to download. I think that covers
It's always
everything,
handy.
Jane.
Yes, I think so.
Let's have a little look at this calendar, shall we? We started
So
in November.
our first block, which we started in November, is Frosty Flakes, which is January's block, denoting the frosty, snowy times that we have in January.
Yeah.
It was English paper pieced with half hexagons. Now we use the hexiforms for this, and it's the hexiforms that is making this unavailable.
Yeah.
We can do the fabrics, but we can't get the hexiforms. So, and there was some jewels in there and some silver thread in your kit.
If we get enough demand, there may be a possibility to do another run, but they were half hexagons and diamond shapes as well, and there were special kits made up specifically for us.
They were.
So there needs to be a certain number of you wanting those to be able to recreate them.
February's block, which came out in December, is woven heart, and we did some fabric weaving.
We did.
And reverse applique for that one.
Jane, when you did that one, there were wool mats, not like this wool mat. I mean, this is our lovely, lovely pressing mat that we love. But we got some thicker wool mats, didn't we? The chunky ones that you could put your pins into, and when you're weaving, you could anchor it down onto that.
Yes, because it's a bit thicker.
Sure, we ordered those specifically for that particular project, and they didn't come in time, which is the way of the world, unfortunately. We get things from international places, and it takes a while. We do have those mats now. We have very, very, very few. So if you missed out on getting a mat and you haven't made your block yet, then, you know, that opportunity may be there to grab one if you're quite quick.
Then we've got March's block, which was March Winds. We've got a bit of patchwork there and some free motion embroidery.
So there are different techniques coming through all the time.
Yeah, as I say, we're just trying to give you a taster of things so that you've got an idea of little different things that you can do and you can have a try with. It's a 12-inch block, so you know you can make one. You can make it into a bag cushion, bag cover front. You could make it into a cushion cover. Just have it as a picture or some, you know, on your wall or whatever you'd like to do. You could make it for the centre of a quilt and add borders to it. All of the things are, you know, variations are available. You can make it into the full quilt, which we've done, or you can make it into this perpetual type calendar.
Perfect.
So March Winds, April Showers. We've got this lovely rainbow. We made the bias fabrics, little padded applique there and some bonded applique. And we all know that March winds and April showers bring forth May flowers. And so this is like a traditional style Baltimore block, using needle turn applique, but done in a slightly different way so that you can do it on the machine. All the instructions are there for you to do that.
Lovely.
And you can always look back on YouTube and see the techniques as well.
That's lovely, isn't it? To get those new techniques in.
Yeah, so June was summer flowers. Lovely, beautiful butterfly with buddleia style flower there and some daisies.
Although we have had people say it looks a bit like a hyacinth, and that's fine too. It works as both.
It works as both. Then for us, July for me is all about summer fetes and garden parties and things. So we did a sort of cake stall type table with cakes on and the bunting. That's all done with free motion applique, a little bit of hand embroidery on the flowers and on the strawberries and the cherries on top of the cake. All of which, as we say, the instructions are there. Then we've got August, which always makes me think of summer holidays. So that's days on the beach. So we've got the sandcastle with the shells, all bonded applique with a bit of free motion embroidery on there.
There's nothing massively complicated here.
Then
Jane,
we've got clink. We've got September's block, which is the one we're going to do today, and that's autumn leaves. And this is patchwork, and as we say, a little bit of foundation piece in there. We're going to talk about that in a moment, how simple that is and how I'd love you to have a go, but we can also talk about making your foundation piece into templates as well.
Perfect.
Then we go into October's block, which is more about harvest than Halloween for us in the UK, really. But we've sort of combined the two. So we've got pumpkins, nice little crow there.
I'm really looking forward to next month's block as well.
Harvest moon. Again, it's slightly padded applique, a bit of bonded applique, some embroidery on there as well. Then we've got November. This is foundation paper pieced. We've got our beautiful sparkle blenders, bit of glitter, so that's like fireworks for November. And then Christmas, and every time I do this I say I haven't made Christmas. I'm going to surprise you next month. I'm going to bring it back, bring it out. But we can see it here on the this is again based on a Baltimore style quilt, and we've got Christmas roses and holly leaves, a nice Christmas bow there.
It's beautiful.
There's a few extra techniques on there, but most of the techniques we use in that we've used in all the other blocks, so it brings everything together.
I love this, Jane, and I think this is a really nice option as well for if someone wants to decorate their front door, or if you want to do something a bit different.
Yeah.
Rather than having an actual wreath. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Why not indeed?
Lovely.
So that's really exciting. We've got Leslie Reynolds watching as well. She's watching from her quilt group.
Lovely.
And Diane says, I've discovered a new love for batiks. They're so much more than just a blender. They totally are.
They absolutely are.
They're the hero of the piece.
Yes.
All on their own, aren't they?
Well, they really lent themselves to the autumn leaves block because we've got some gorgeous autumnal colours.
Yes.
But also because they've got that variation, they reminded me of the autumn leaves because they're always constantly changing and the tones that you get within them.
Definitely, Jane. Your mother's arrived.
Oh, hi, Mum.
Morning, girls. Just been out mowing before the rain comes. Well planned there, Kate.
Brilliant.
Barbara Winnard's with us, as is Julia. And Sylph Sparkley's with us as well.
Lovely.
We've got lots of people coming through. She just keeps breaking up my end, so I'll have to leave. Sandra, I'm sorry, your signal's not so good. It might be worth sometimes just rewinding by 10 seconds and seeing if that makes a difference.
Or
to the stability
completely
of the stream, or log
taken off,
log back on.
Log on.
Really good point, actually, that we are on Facebook and our own website, natashamakes.com, on the Watch Live page. That's where you'll find your products as well. If you want to click view all, you'll see all of the products there. But we're also on YouTube, and YouTube is generally our most stable platform. So if you are ever having issues and interruptions of viewing, then YouTube's generally your friend. Okay, because sometimes people I know have issues with blips on Facebook.
Yes, can always.
Claire Angelina was wondering when the next block of the month instalment would be. Today.
We always try and do it the second week of the month.
We do. Sometimes
we aim
it
to
gets
that.
moved schedule-wise a little,
depending on what we're doing. But we always try and aim for the second week of the month.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
we've got a lovely kit.
We have
with our batiks and a little bit of bumbleberries for the background. This is our light grey bumbleberries. You get a half-metre piece of that. We've got this very deep brown that we're using for the borders or the binding, depending on what you're doing, whether you're putting it in the quilt or whether you're having it as an individual hanging. There's enough, with these kits, there's enough to do both. So you can do your perpetual calendar and you can do the quilt should you wish to. There is enough to make 2 blocks with each kit. Then we've got some fat aches of these lovely autumnal colours. So we've got a green, nice rich green there. We've got this creamy yellow colour. We've got this sort of amber colour, sort of tanny amber colour.
Nice.
This one has got so much potential. It's a lovely tonal one. There's yellows and greens and oranges and a little bit sort of peachy pink in there. That's a really nice one to use. And we've got this lovely vibrant orange and then this sort of deep rich red colour. That's a bit like the red of the Virginia creepers when they turn in the autumn.
Beautiful.
So that's your kit.
It's a lovely kit.
It's a nice kit. There's some lovely fabrics in there. You're not going to need all of this fabric, so you're going to have a nice little bit for your stash as well. So
you'll be able to create 2 blocks and have extras for your stash, and it's $19.99.
Yeah.
You can't say fairer than that, can we?
That's a good.
Jane, more than 50% of the stock of our kit what's the word? Bolt ends.
Yes.
Gone.
Oh,
gone.
wow.
I did warn you. Sorry about this, everybody. If there's a particular one that you loved and it has gone, then we're sorry. But it is the nature of the beast.
It is. It's what happens.
As well as if you've got one in your basket and you're delighted and you love it and you're thrilled and you're having a browse around the website and you're thinking, oh, what else can I buy? We love that. We applaud you. We welcome you to search. However, if someone else has that same bolt end in their basket and they check it out and pay for it first, then it will go to them. Unfortunately, it will disappear and become unavailable to you. So it's only fair I mention this. We don't like you to be disappointed. If, however, you want to check that one out, purchase it, make sure it's yours, secure it.
Yes.
Good. And then have a browse around the website and place a second order in the same day, so before midnight tonight. Then you can just pop us a little email, info@natashamakes.com, or pop a note on your order to say, please combine with my other order, and we will combine those two together and combine your postage. If you've paid more postage than you need to, we'll pop a little refund through.
We will.
I think that's fair.
Yes.
I think that's very fair. We also have other people who've been very, very busy this morning. My word, Jane Gray, she's been doing all sorts, dishwasher on, washing in the dryer, coffee in hand, feet up, but she's waiting for a new sewing machine to arrive, so clearly she's been all virtuous and got all the housework done this morning to allow playtime for later.
That's lovely, isn't it?
But yes, lots and lots of things going on here as well. Loads of people commenting, loads and loads. Susan O'Leary says, haven't seen Jane in person for ages. Lovely to see her today at work, but love doing what she loves. Hopefully see you soon.
Yes, that's my friend Sue from college. We've been friends for 40 years. No, not quite that long, but
not
nearly.
Not that old, Jane.
No.
Not that old.
Nearly.
35.
35 years, yeah.
No, you're 35 yourself. That's what
and
we
for one thing or another, we haven't been able to get together for a while. So, yeah.
Well, there we go.
Yes.
Excellent. Oh yeah, hyacinth, because we mentioned the flower earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, Sylph says it always makes her think of Mrs. Bucket/Bouquet.
Yes.
Yeah, we love her. Anne's in hot and sunny Cyprus. Temperature is on its way to 39 degrees Celsius.
Oh my gosh, stay safe and in the shade though.
She says love barks. I think she means batiks.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. We love batiks as well, and Jane's going to show you something fabulous to make with them. So
yes,
we better crack on with
we'll do this autumn block. I'm going to show you how to do the foundation piecing. Now, I know a lot of you get a little bit, foundation piecing.
It's a word, isn't it?
Please don't be afraid of it. It's not too hard. It's not too difficult. And this is a very simple introduction to foundation piecing. It's just 2 lines of sewing and it should be straightforward. So I don't want you to get too worried about it.
Jane, am I right in saying that your first foray into quilting was through foundation?
Yes, that's how I learnt to do patchwork. So I'm a little bit sort of like, it's really easy, because I did it that way. So I knew no different for doing it for a while in that way. We did a log cabin and things like that. So when it's something that you learn for the first time, it's sort of in you, isn't it? And you think, yes, this is how it's straightforward. But I know that some people find it a little bit like, don't like this.
And I think the fear breeds. You hear other people go, oh no, I can't do it, and then it breeds. Like I did this. I was like, oh no, I'm not doing FPP. And then the coronation celebration block came up, and there's a very small section in the middle of the crown that has foundation paper pieces.
It does, yeah.
And as much as I've watched you do foundation paper demo, that looks all right, that looks quite easy. On that particular make, I had to make it because I was pattern testing.
Yes.
I had to. I got no choice here. So I have to laugh, because actually, of all the parts of that wall hanging that came together, I'd say that came together the easiest and looked the best.
It gives you
run from it for years.
Yeah, I love it. Gives you very clean, straight patchwork. I feel. I think for a lot of
than this actually.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's the fact that you have to do it in sort of reverse.
Yeah.
So you're sort of stitching back to front upside down, which for a lot of people takes a while to get used to. Yeah. I used to find that my left-handed students picked it up a lot quicker. So I think maybe people that are left-handed, their mind works that way.
And
have we got paper scissors in the caddy?
They will do. They will say paper on them. I shall have a little peep. I will say as well, though, I think there's this whole idea of, I've got this paper, and then what do I do? And you can sew it through your machine, no problem. Your machine's not going to get cross about it.
No, not at all.
And then it just tears away.
It does.
It's not like it's then, what do I do? And I've got bits of paper.
Yeah.
And he just pulls out. So it's.
And if you're really worried about doing it on paper and the effect it would have on your machine, you could trace it off onto some interfacing. Yeah. Lightweight interfacing, trace the pattern off onto that and sew onto that, and then you don't have to take it out at all. So, if you worry about working with the paper, then that's another way of overcoming that fear.
Jane.
There we are, paper scissors.
There you go, look. Now, why do we mention paper scissors, Jane? Why is this important?
Well, you're going to need to cut around your pattern to start with. We don't want to use our best fabric scissors. We're okay.
Thanks, Inga. Inga just appeared at the door with a pair of scissors. Her scissors say blunt on them. So she's got different scissors for different things.
Yeah. So we're just going to, now your pattern, your paper will be quite, because we print on a good quality paper, your paper will be quite stiff. Now I would recommend that you photocopy that onto some very cheap paper.
We could trace it onto some tracing paper.
Tracing paper, greaseproof paper,
baking paper,
the lightest paper that you can find really. Not baking parchment, because baking parchment is designed not to tear.
Okay.
So, but cheapy greaseproof paper,
Nice.
children's tracing paper, sugar paper is another one as well that's really good for tearing.
Good.
And you can get foundation paper.
Oh, you can if you fancy being fancy.
Fancy,
We've
yes.
never bought it though, have we?
No, because
We'd
Your
rather spend our money on fabric.
your copier paper is perfect.
Yes. Just a normal piece of paper. You
But
can
as I
just
say,
trace it
I mean,
onto
you can use the pattern that's in here, but it's on a stiffer paper, so
that. And it's nice to keep this
Yes.
solid and just trace it off. Use your piece and because
Yeah.
you might want to revisit this pattern.
you can if you haven't got a photocopier, you can just trace it over. Put the pattern onto the window, put your paper over the top, and trace it through.
and keep your original, because you may want to make this block again and again and again.
You can have fun with this actual block, and if you like doing it, have a look at what happens when you put 4 together. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so trim your pattern, but don't trim it on the line. This line here is your seam allowance, but for now, just trim it a little bit away from that seam allowance. So, I don't know, it's a bit less than 1/4 inch, but it's just,
bit.
yeah, it's, you know,
We have
a bit more than an eighth, somewhere between an eighth and a 1/4 inch, just round, enough so that you can still see that line with the seam allowance. Now, sometimes what people find difficult, because we're going to sew the fabric on this side, that's actually you can't see the pattern, and we sew on this side, so we can see the pattern. And some people find it a little bit difficult for positioning the fabric. So what I sometimes say to my students is, again, put it up into the light, but you can actually, if I just put this on top of white paper, I can see through it. You can just take your lines, and there's nothing to stop you tracing your pattern onto the reverse of your fabric if it helps you visualise where the pieces go.
Of course.
I'm going to put my glasses on because I've got a shadow of the ruler on here, so I just need to be sure I'm on my right line. What you can do, now you can either do the whole line, or you can just take the line that you're going to be sewing on and just take it past into the seam allowance so you can see it. And you, as I say, we've only got 2 lines of stitching on this really, so we can just take that line there and that one there, so that when we come to line our fabric up, we'll be able to have a positioning line that we'll be able to see. You do a lot of flipping it backwards and forwards. Now, I've chosen to have this lovely mottled fabric in that middle piece. I'm going to put that over this square. I've cut my piece exactly to the same size as my square. I'm going to turn that around because I want to have that green going into the peachy colour. This part here is the bit that goes towards the rest of your pattern. So the wider part, and then that pointed bit is on the outside edge. Excuse me.
It's all right.
So we're going to pin that.
And a little bit Mariella Froststruck, lovely.
Didn't I?
Gravelly and fabulous.
I'm going to pin this down, and I'm pinning it on this side just to hold it onto my paper for now. Okay, so we're now going to, it's numbered A1, A2, A3. The numbers are quite small, and I do apologise for that, but it's the way it came out on the printing machine. So if we hold this up to the light now, that way round, You can't really see it on screen, but you'll be able to see the lines through.
If we go close up, can we see it? Let's have a little.
I don't know whether it will work because of the...
I don't know either.
I don't think you
way
will
that
be
our
able
studio
to.
lights are, but you can see
When you
through.
hold it up to the light, and you can hold it up to your window or up to the light, you'll be able to see. And as I say, we've marked the lines beyond on our pattern. I can take it right down to here and right down to there. So I know I can see. We're going to take rectangles of the background fabric, which is our bumbleberries for this one. Now, we're going to cover this area here with the fabric. That's the reverse, this is the right side. So it's going to sit over that area there. Now, if you wanted to, you can use scraps. So if you've got an irregular shape that you think will cover that piece of triangle, that's fine. I'm going to use a rectangle just for today because it's easier. What I might have done, I might have trimmed that down so that I've got 1/4 inch over that line. But just for this purpose. And you can take your fabric and you can line it up. We can see the lines here and here. We can line it up so that it goes 1/4 inch past. Now you have to think about how you make your patchwork. So we would be seaming that line and then we would be folding that back. And we want it to cover all of that area there. So if we hold it up to the light this way, we can see the lines through and we can see that when we fold that back, we know it's going to cover that area. Now what I will do, I will take it to this side, on my side that I'm going to sew it, and I'm going to put a couple of pins in along what will be my sewing line. And this is another way of checking that I have my fabric, enough of my fabric to fold it back. That will be my sew line, and I will fold it back what will be my sewn line, and again I can just double check by holding it up to the light this way, and I can see that that's going to cover well within the seam allowance and everything else. So I'm quite happy with that. So now I'm just going to take this, I'm going to take a couple more pins. I'm going to keep those ones in on the sewn line. I'm just going to pin those there. I might put another one in along this line here. And I'm going to pin that along there. And that's ready now in position for me to sew.
Fabulous.
So I've kept those lines in on that sewing line just to hold it, because otherwise it can move.
Okay, you need your pins to keep that in place.
What you will do is you will take your stitch line down to quite a narrow stitch, short stitch.
Okay.
I like to use a 2 on my machine, my Juki. This one I've turned it down to 1. I think that will make a nice short stitch. And the reason for that is just because it makes a short stitch, which makes more perforations in your paper, which makes it easier for your paper to tear away. We're going to start stitching in the seam allowance, just a couple of stitches within that seam allowance. We don't want to go all the way across, just on the outside of that line, and then we stitch on that line. Make it nice and steady. And then when we get to the end of the line, we'll just do another couple of stitches just within that seam allowance.
Lovely.
So you can see there, we've gone just outside that line and just over that line there, and we've sewn on the line. Now again, once I've sewn it, I will just double check by folding that piece of fabric back that it covers the area that I need it to cover. Now I can see that does, because I've got all of this extra hanging over there.
Excellent.
Now I'm going to take the paper and I'm going to make sure that that's folded out of the way, and there's nothing to stop you putting a pin in it, just to hold it. I'm going to take the paper and I'm going to fold it back on that sewn line, and I'm going to trim that excess off, which is why I've pinned this out of the way.
Just make sure you fold your paper out of the way, because otherwise...
Yeah, you're just going to cut through your pattern. And then, so I'm doing it on the paper side. Folded that paper out of the way. I'm going to put my 1/4 inch ruler along the edge of that paper, so the 1/4 inch there that I can see, and then I'm going to trim that excess off.
Marvellous.
So that's for your scrap bin. You might, that's quite a good piece. You might use that for bits of applique or whatever. And then you fold that back, your paper back, and then you fold your fabric back. You can give it a press if you want to with your iron at this point, and then just pin that down to your paper foundation, just to hold it out of the way. So that's the one side, and then we're going to do the same on the other side. So we're going to take our piece here. I've got my lines drawn so I can see where I need to go past. So if I place my fabric along there, I should be okay. I'm going to put my pins in along that sewing line, there and there. So they're on the sewing line. I'm going to fold this piece of fabric back. That would be as I sew it. And I can see that's going to cover that. I might just bring, I don't know if you can see, but it doesn't quite go over the top of that piece there.
Okay.
So I'm just going to bring that grey piece just up a little bit further. It's still within the seam allowance, but I just want it just a little bit further up. So again, I'm going to just move that. I'm going to put the pins back in just to check it again. You can pin it and move it as many times as you like. It's better to get it right now than after you've sewn it and then you decide that it's not quite. I'm happier with that. It still covers all of my excess that I need it to. I might want to bring it down just a little bit because it's not quite within the seam allowance, but I'm not too worried about that. It's more or less in there. If it was right down here, I would definitely move it back up again. So lining it back down again and pop my pins in, ready to sew it. Might just take that pin there out now because it's very close to when I'm going to be sewing, so it might just distort the line slightly. So when they take it to the machine now, we're going to sew along this line here.
Fabulous.
And
Jane,
again,
there's a lot of security to be had through this because you can check where that block's going to sit after you've sewn your line.
Yes.
By doing that folding back. And
yeah, can do all of that. There's a lot of points of checking, and there's a lot of points of checking it just before you actually do the actual sewing part. So you've got lots of opportunities to rearrange it at any time before you actually sew it. And just go a couple of stitches into that seam allowance.
Fabulous.
And take those pins out now we've sewn it. Oops. And
Your
again,
pins are nowhere near your sewing line, really, are they?
No.
So again, just to alleviate
you can
any of the
take,
concerns.
yeah,
You
I mean
them
you
out
can
if you
take
want
them
to.
out as you're sewing them anyway. Just push that back. You can check again, hold it up to the light just to make sure that it's covering the area that you need it to cover.
So what, Jane, you're like a ninja.
Sorry.
I try and switch and you've moved already, so you've held it up to the light and had a little look.
Yeah.
Make sure it's where you want it to be.
Folded the paper back on the paper side, and then we're going to put that 1/4 inch mark on our ruler along the edge of the paper and trim that bit off there, making sure that we've made sure that that piece of it was out of the way. The paper back, fold your fabric back across there. We're still happy that it's within that seam allowance, and we'll just pin that along there and along here. Now what we're going to do, we're going to just take a tacking stitch. So we're going to lengthen our stitch as long as it will go, and we're going to sew within that seam allowance there, just to hold the fabric down. So it might be worth just taking your pins out and bringing them to your paper side, just so that you can see where they are.
Okie doke.
And they won't get, you can feel with your fingers as well where your fabric is
Makes sense.
on the reverse side of your paper. and you can be sure that everything's nicely folded back on the seams and out of the way. And then, as I say, we're just going to take that stitch up to as long as you can go, and we're just going to go, as I say, within the seam allowance, just taking a stitch that will go all the way around. It doesn't have to be straight, it's just there to hold the fabric down. And we've got that sewn down now, so that fabric is not going to go anywhere. It's going to stay where it is in the pattern that we want it to be, and we're going to trim that now on that seam allowance. Now, if you have a rotary cutter that's on its way out, and I keep my old blades for cutting paper, this is the time to use those. Or as soon as you finish this project, you're going to want to change your blade.
I mean, some of you do have two rotary cutters.
Yes,
I've got two at home.
I have. I've got one that's...
that I bought when I first started, and then I upgraded and got myself a fancier one. And my old one is my paper cutting rotary cutter.
It's ideal to have one because it does come in handy, particularly if you do foundation paper piecing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or any pattern cutting, and you've got nice straight lines that you want to keep straight. Your rotary cutter's your friend for that. So you've got then, that is your pattern piece ready to go into your patchwork. Now, if that still makes you think, no, I can't do it, I'm not doing it, I don't like it, you can always make templates. You can use your foundation paper pattern, you can get some template plastic, you can place it on over the top of your pattern piecing here. I've lined up the edge there in the seam allowance. You can tape it down with a bit of masking tape, or if you feel confident you can hold it, and you can trace the pattern. So if we trace piece A1, oops, try not to move it after you've traced it, onto our template plastic. We can trace that onto our template plastic. We'll mark that with A1, and we might even write autumn leaves, just so that we know when we're looking at that next time, we'll find up this piece of template plastic and we're like, what was that for?
What was this?
So we've drawn that onto there now. We've got the 1/4 inch here and here. If we line up our 1/4 inch of our ruler on that marked line, and again, we'll use our second best rotary cutter to cut along there. We've got the template there for that part of our block. You can see that fits on there. Don't forget that that's within the seam allowance, so it'd fit down like that. And you can do the same then with your side pieces. And what you can do with this pattern, particularly this pattern, is this A1 and A2 are the same. So if you trace off one piece, if we trace off this part here, And if I put that say 2, I'll put autumn leaves on there again, so I know what I'm doing. I could also put block of the month if I wanted that to remind me as well. And we can take this one, we'll put the 1/4 inch on that line there. I lined up the corner of my piece of template plastic with the seam allowance already, so that saved me a bit of time of cutting. I have now got, and what I will do on this one is I'll take the 1/4 inch mark. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. I've just done with my piece of template plastic, flipped it across there.
It's invisible.
I've got my point there. If I take the 1/4 inch of that, line this edge of the ruler up with that edge of the straight edge there, and I take the 1/4 inch from that point away, I can cut that edge off there. That's still within my seam allowance then. It just makes it a little bit easier. So what you would then do on your fabric, you would mark your templates onto your fabric. And again, if you've got straight edges, make the most of them. Line your fabric up with the straight edge. Trace that onto your fabric, like so. Now, that is that piece there. Now I could trace another one off, but I don't actually need to. If I flip that over, because it's the same size, I can see that if I flip that over on my pattern,
Clever.
I can get my 2 pieces out. And just by tracing those onto the fabric, I can cut those out there, and I can cut this one out, and I've got my templates, and I can sew them together with my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So for those of you that really can't bear the thought of doing foundation paper piecing, you can make templates from your foundation pattern.
And template plastic is your friend.
It is. You should always have template plastic in your stash. It's the best thing ever.
Absolutely. But Jane, Cynthia says, I like watching demos on FPP and have a speciality ruler.
Ooh.
But I've yet to try doing the technique myself. This looks like an easy beginning FPP that even I can do.
It is. You've got 2 lines to sew on that. It's not going to take you very long.
This is your foray, your first foray, I feel.
The next little piece that might give you a little bit of consternation is you're going to need a little bit of bias for your stem, just so that you can get a curve on it. So you've got your 45-degree line on your ruler, and if you place that along the bottom edge of your piece of fabric, like so, there's the 45-degree line on the ruler.
Great.
There's the edge of my fabric. If we cut along there, we've now got a 45-degree line. And what we'll do then is we'll measure from this line, we're going to measure 1 inch. And we're going to cut 1 inch strip, and that's going to be our stem. So that's a biased piece. You'll be able to get the rest of your little squares and everything else that you need from that. We're now going to take this to the iron, and what I would do is I would fold it in half and just finger press it, and then I can see the crease in this. You might want to mark a line with one of your fabric markers if you feel more confident. And I'm going to fold, it's 1/4 inch. I'm going to fold it in. Thank you, Gemma. Taking care with keep your fingers out of the way. If you've got the bias tape makers that Natasha had on the show quite a while ago now, I think it was, wasn't it? These will come in very handy at this point.
Oh, they'd make very easy work with bias
They would.
tape making, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
I don't know whether we've got them around. They're normally in a little pouch.
And then we're going
Taking
to
them with us, Cornwall.
do the same on the other side. So we're basically bringing the 1/4 inch into the middle on either side.
We have restocked the Buyer's Tape Maker, I know we have. And we've got them in 3 colours, Jane.
Ooh.
Blue, pink or green.
Oh, how lovely.
Let me pop those into today's collection. They are one of those things that once you have them,
You'll wonder why you never had them before.
You'll kick yourself that you didn't get them before.
Okay, thank you, Gemma.
Very welcome.
So you're going to have a square of fabric of your background fabric, and you're going to pin your bias tape now from that corner just below, sort of 1/4 of an inch below. Take it across to there and bring it round and pop it so it's in the corner, sort of more or less sits in the corner on this end. So it's up there and comes down. You want to pin that in place. And once you're happy with it, because we've done it on the bias, you see we get that nice gentle curve. And you're going to, we can snip this bit off at the bottom here just so it's not in the way. I'm going to put another pin in there just to hold that down while I sew it. And if I flip this over, you can see what I mean about having that corner so that the bias tape sits in the middle of that corner. But on this edge, it just goes to the edge there on that one. And we're going to sew either side. Now, you will probably want to make your, change your thread so it matches your fabric. I'm just going to use the thread I've got in the machine for now. And just sew quite close to the edge, just sewing it in place. Cut the thread there, and I'm going to sew in the same direction just because it will stop it wrinkling. If I went down one side and up the other, it might, particularly because it's on the bias, it might just stretch the fabric and you'll end up with it wrinkling because it'll push it one way and push it the other.
Gotcha. So
I tend to sew in the same direction, and that just prevents any wrinkling.
Just a little hair.
And that has sewn your bias tape to your corner part of your block. I would flip that over and just take my ruler and just now trim that so that it's level with my block.
Trim the nibbly bits off, Jane.
Yeah, just trim those edges off.
Lovely.
Just to tidy it up, make it look square again. So we've now got the opposite corners of our block made. I can talk to you about taking the papers out. I wouldn't do that until I'd made the whole block normally, but what you can do is you can just, you've already folded it along there anyway, and you can take your pin and you can rub your pin along your sewn line and just get it underneath and into the paper, or you can do like we do with the Wonder Web, and you can scratch it in the middle and take it down. And as I say, you'll get, because you've sewn on this line, but what I would say to you is just put your thumb nail along that along that stitch line just to hold it while you're taking the papers out. They come out quite nicely along that edge because it's perforated. If it's proven a little bit stubborn, again, cotton bud in a glass of water and run that across the paper along the stitch line.
No.
That'll soften the paper and make it easier to come out as well.
Perfect.
So we've got those parts. We're going to have to make some half square triangles. I've done some already, but I'm going to show you the method I use for half square triangles.
Great.
2 squares of fabric, right sides together. Mark a line across the diagonal of your fabric. I usually do it on the lighter one, which is my background fabric. So lining my ruler up from point to point on the square, across the diagonal, and then I mark from the middle out each time, just because we're going on the bias and it prevents it stretching. So I've got a diagonal line there. I'm going to sew 1/4 inch either side of that line. Up one end and down the other. So we've got 1/4 inch either side. I'm then going to cut on my marked line, so cut through the diagonal, and that will create 2 half square triangles of my chosen fabric. You've got enough fabric in your kit to decide which triangles you want to have. You can copy my colourway exactly if you want to. You could have a play and you could do several triangles, so that you can see on my block that I've used the 2 each time, but in different directions, in different places rather. But you could make 6, you know, you could use each of your colours so that you've only got 1 triangle of each colour each time. You're going to cut some of your fabric into squares, and you're going to start by building up your leaf pattern.
Okay.
Now I'm going to follow my pattern exactly. I've got 2 squares there.
And also, Jane, you've got the most amazing reference on that front cover.
Yeah.
That lovely big full cover image.
It's always handy to have it.
Yeah.
We're going to put that orange one there. We're going to put that orange one there.
Like you say, people can mix these up and make
Yeah,
their
they
own.
can make their own pattern. They can make their own colours. Just make it their own. So you've got your squares. That fits in there. You've got your half square triangles. Just look at the orientation of them, so they give the effect that you need.
It's lovely, isn't it? It's like a proper maple leaf.
Yes. That one there, and then that one goes that way. But you can mix them up and decide for yourself how you'd like them to go. That one sits in there, and this one sits in that way. You're going to have 2 rectangles of your background fabric that sit there and there. Now what I would recommend that you do is you take this section and you take that section. You've got a 4 patch here, and you've got a row and that going on. So I would join these 2 pieces together. Oh, needle's come unthreaded.
It's always the way.
Isn't
Always
it?
when you're on the show, isn't it?
Yeah.
So satisfying, isn't it? This kind of piecing, I love it. You've got all your bits.
Once you've got all your bits, and it's a
Yeah.
bit like a mosaic, isn't it? You
Yeah.
just lay it out and then you can see how it goes together.
I love how much you can create from a half square triangle as well, Jane. I've always said this to you.
Oh yes, there's so many
times.
combinations.
Yeah, so many times you get me making all these different colour combos of half square triangles, and it just feels for a while like that's all you're doing is creating stacks and stacks and stacks of half square triangles, and then suddenly you lay it all out and it all makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, look what I've done.
So we're going to put the
So it
2
comes
half square
together.
triangles together.
Like your flying geese as well.
Now I press the orange towards the background and I press
Yeah.
the brown towards the background, so that when I put these together I can nestle my seams.
Nice.
And we're
Make
going
it
to
look
sew
in
that
place.
together along the background edge.
Great.
It gives us a sort of flying geese effect. And I've pressed the seam towards the brown on that one, and I'm going to press it towards the brown triangles on this side.
Ooh.
So when I come to make,
Does help if the camera catches up, doesn't it?
so the seam's been pressed to that side, and press that way on that one. So when I lay these on top of each other and do the seam, again, I can nestle that seam, and that gives us a nice point on there as well. Just straighten that up slightly. There we go. And then we've got that piece that goes, that just sits in there. We can join.
She's like a ninja, everybody.
Sorry.
She moves much quicker than the cameras do.
We can line that up there, and we'll sew along there.
Great.
Just going to give this a press to because I've got a bit of a.
Aww.
One of my squares seems to be a little bit shorter than the other, which is fine.
That's all right, so long as you can resolve it with a quick press.
Always.
There's a lot that you can sort with a quick press.
It's amazing, actually. But I'm not too worried because that overhang is within the seam allowance.
I've brought things in before now and gone, Jane, I don't know where I went wrong. And she's like, come here, puts an iron on it. And then, hey presto, we're all good.
Now, if I'm looking at my square here, this square here should be 2 1/4-ish, which it is. So that tells me that that's just a little bit bigger than it needs to be. So I can trim that little bit off there.
There we are.
And that gives, it's still a little bit short, but we can line that up with that edge there.
Don't panic about such things, do we, Jane?
No, because it's with it. If it's within your seam allowance, you can make it disappear in your seam, so it's fine.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, I made some of the half square triangles on a different machine, and I've said before, with the best will in the world, different machines have slightly different seam allowances.
And you get moving around between all sorts of machines here.
I do.
And at home.
Very lucky to have all these machines up to my beck and call. So we're now going to attach our foundation piece to this piece here.
Great.
Now we've got the seam allowance marked on here because I've still left my papers in.
Nice.
So I'm going to sew that along that line there.
Oh.
Because it's there for me to follow,
not?
Which is rather nice. And I am going to go from the bottom all the way along.
Jane, the kits that you cut for this have gone.
So we'll have to make some more.
We have got a few more that we can cut and create. But it's
So
a popular block, this one.
It is. So now we're going to sew this row. So I'm going to sew my half square triangle to this block. Just line that up, and it's the coloured side that goes against the square. And what I would do is I would sew these together in a pair, press them open. The machine's decided it's going to keep coming. I'm wondering if I've got...
Is it having one of those days? It's the one that the automatic needle threader needs replacing on as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad to rethread.
No.
Natasha will probably come in and go, well, it's because you threaded it wrong.
She probably will.
So I'm going to just pop that back into position just to make sure that I'm still got everything in the right way. It'll be very easy to do that, you see. So I've got that like that. I'm now going to sew that one to there. That back in place, and then I'm going to sew these to either side of that middle square. Definitely got this threaded incorrectly, which is probably why it's...
I love the way that it's still behaving though and sewing things for
Oh
you.
yes, it's great.
Well,
It's such a lovely machine, even when the user
is not looking after it properly.
doesn't look after
Jane
it.
is using our semi-industrial or mini-industrial little mini beast, isn't it?
It's a beautiful machine.
TL2200. They are phenomenal little machines. All the power of an industrial, but little.
Just got that thread, that's it. I just got that looped around then, so I knew I had to just unloop it. Right, let's put that under there. And we've got that middle row. Now what I will do is I'll look up the direction of my seams, and I've got them all going that way, so I'm going to press them the opposite way on this one.
Okie dokie.
Just so that when I come to join all of that, I can nestle the seams there.
Perfect. It is
So
nice to have that reference point,
it is.
isn't it?
I'm going to join these 3 units together. I'm going to sew that onto that one. I'm going to take that square and I'm going to sew it onto that. Grab that thread this time before it, no, it's decided it'll thread itself anyway. Oh, bless.
We are nothing if not real here. Warts and all sewing.
Yeah.
Or carry on crafting, as I suggested to Natasha as an alternative name.
And because we pressed all of the seams that way on that one,
Hang on, Jane. There we go. It's just caught you up. So because you pressed all the seams that
way
on
on that one,
Yep.
I'm going to press them that way on this one.
Marvellous. So just keep alternating row on row.
Yes,
so that
it just
got that
it makes it handy
clicky
for
seams.
nestling your seams. We're going to now press this one to here, sew it even.
That's all
Not
right.
press it.
Try pressing it.
We will press it afterwards.
Yeah, we will. We totally will.
And we've got the seams pressed that way, so we're going to press it opposite way, so it's going that way.
Fabulous.
So we're now going to join those 2 rows together.
Great.
Interlock that one just there, and we can always just pop a pin in along there just to hold it if we're not too sure.
Yeah.
And we can line those up. Pin out, and we can press that. Now we can press it towards that side because there's less seams to get in the way, and then we're going to join that square to there.
Excellent.
And we'll press that towards the stem. So now we're going to join our 3 rows together to make our block. So lining up this one, and it's this seam here really that's the most important one to have it lined up, so we'll pop a pin in along there, and we can nestle the other seams, and if we want to we can just pop pins in along those parts there just to hold that. I'm going to pop that one in along there and just give that to line up with the edge there. Those pins out.
I love this stage, Jamie. You really start to see everything come together.
Yeah.
Look at this.
And we can press that towards that way just because it's got a little bit of a heavy seam there where the stalk is, so it naturally wants to sit that way. And then we can add this top piece on, and again we just want to make sure that this seam here lines up, and again we can pop a pin in along there. And it's a little bit more difficult because you're going through the paper as well. You might want to have taken your paper out by this point. You may feel that you want that security of having that seam line already still there, and again that's something that you will get used to over time, and you'll be able to decide for yourself how you feel about that. And we want that seam there to nestle as well.
Lovely.
So we
the
can
most
line
exciting bit of all.
we can line that up, and we can sew along this marked line. This is such a fun block to make, and it makes a nice quilt as well. You can make several of these blocks and have them in all different directions.
That'd be beautiful as a quilt.
We're going to just fold that way, just at the moment because we've got the paper.
So you'd love this Saringa.
Yes, she loves her
all the
autumn.
tones,
She
doesn't
does, yeah. So
gorgeous cushion as well, Jane.
yeah,
Absolutely stunning cushion this would make.
we've got the block like so, and we add borders to that. So we're going to put, but we only add borders on two sides. So we're going to put one there and one there. You would sew that one on first and then sew that one on.
Throwing everybody, because it normally be top and bottom and then left and right.
Yeah.
But you don't need to with this
But
one.
you don't have to do it that way. You might want your leaf facing that way, so you might bring your border to that side.
Yeah.
You might want it facing downwards, in which case you'd bring your borders. What I'm saying is your borders go against the point of your leaf. So you can put you can have your leaf facing any direction you want to, really. And if you were making a quilt, you could do it so that you've got some facing down, some facing that way, some facing that way, some facing the other way. And you can mix them up within your quilt and put them together to make a lovely block. When you've got it finished, you can layer it up and you can quilt it. On the quilt itself, can we go to the main picture? I'm sorry,
darling.
it's all right. As he was trying to do 4 jobs at once,
Yeah.
I can see
It's
you.
all going on.
I've just literally quilted around the shape on the main quilt.
Yep.
I've added my borders on, and then that's gone into the quilt. On the
Oh no, yeah.
On this
different
block.
this one.
so if we can go overhead, and I can show the quilting on this one.
Because you're taking it up a gear. So you can explain actually what was on there. So
Yes.
It's just literally the edgy.
I've gone around the
Edge
edge on the quilt, literally echo quilted just around the shape of the leaf. On this one, and we might have to actually go close up.
Yeah, I think so.
I have taken a variegated thread. It's got greens and yellows and oranges in it. And I've done a bit of free motion quilting, and I've gone in loops, just sort of denote the veins of the leaf. Just followed it round. And what I've done is I've started here and I've gone up there, come back down, gone up there and come back down, round in a loop, back down and gone back down here, round to there, up to there, back down and then back down to the middle again and then gone up and down. So there's like 2 rows of stitches, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't hit it exactly.
It's stunning.
Because it gives the effect.
Have you used just a plain green thread, or is that a variegated?
It's a variegated thread.
So.
It's got a very subtle variation from dark greens to yellows. I think there was a bit of orange in it, but I don't think I got to that point on my reel of thread. You can get some really lovely variegated ones.
Oh, do you know, I love a thread, me. I
But-
love an aurafill is what I love.
Yeah.
There's some beautiful variegated, don't they?
Again, if you're not feeling too confident with your free motion quilting, there's nothing to stop you doing straight lines
No,
in the diagonals.
nothing.
Going across and across, coming from here, going up maybe to there and going across to there.
Jane, if you like a little hand embroider, just
Yeah.
having a bit of a hand embroider.
Yeah.
You could add all sorts on here.
You can embellish it with all sorts of things.
Little beads on if you wanted to make it look like there were water droplets
Yeah.
on there or whatever.
If you've got a little ladybird bug button or something like that, you could add
Yeah,
that as well.
really
You can embellish it
nice.
to your heart's content, really.
Stunning. Stunning. Oh, do you know, this is just all falling to bits now. The way this stand works, if you lift the middle bit, the bottom bits fall off.
The legs fall off. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
So that's your autumn block.
It is.
Autumn
Autumn
leaves.
block in July. Last week we did Christmas in July, and if you missed those shows, where were you? You've had your chance, as Inga
Yes.
would say, with the flannels, because those sold out. And actually a lot of our other Lewis and Irene panels all went as well.
Yes.
It was a lovely week, and thank you to those of you who joined us. We can't wait to see everyone's Christmas makes,
Oh,
can
there's
we?
going to be some lovely ones, I think.
Absolutely, and we do have on our website an area that you can share your makes with us. It's our community makes page, so if you go to natashamakes.com, across the top you will see the community makes button. You can click that one and you can upload images there. They will, once they've been approved by SJ, be viewed by anyone who looks on our community makes page. They are public, okay? The reason they won't show instantly, so don't panic if you upload something and it doesn't show instantly. The reason is because you'd be surprised what sort of things people would like to be viewed publicly. And we
Yes.
would not. So just bear
Nothing
that
to
in
do
mind.
with sewing, let's put it that way.
Nothing at all. If, however, you make something and perhaps you want to show Jane, perhaps you want to show us and you don't want the rest of the world to see, or perhaps you've made something and you're thinking, it's not quite going together right and I'm not sure why, and you want to send some pictures through, you can email those to us at info@natashamakes.com. Pop in your email that it's for our eyes only. Jane will take a look. She might be able to give you some advice here and there as well. She's
if
more
I
than
can, I
happy
will.
to do
Yep.
that. As much as one can over images, which we will try. I've noticed as well, Ginny joined us about just coming up for half an hour ago saying, sorry I'm late. Don't ever worry about that because our shows are available to view back on our website and on YouTube. That's never a problem, so you can catch up anytime you like. If you
Yeah.
buy today's bundle and then you decide you want to make it in a few months' time even, the demo will be there
Yes,
on YouTube.
you can sew along, yes.
Lots of people saying they were late to the game actually. Jane had a BT engineer messing with the broadband.
How very
How
dare.
rude. Does he not know it's Natasha Makes on a Monday morning? Vicky says, Jane got me hooked on FPP since making the elephant from the Mary Hurtle book.
That's true, yes, that
It's-
was lovely, that
It's
elephant.
really cute. It's not hard once you get in the rhythm, and that was a great show actually.
Yes.
Really lovely. I
Yeah.
think that was called So Cute Baby Animals. So for anyone who is looking to see a bit more on the front of, demos to do with FPP, let me find the date of that now, because I just imagine you were watching the show and going, Gemma, what date was that show? 12th of October 2022. So again, it's a show that you can view back. Jane gave lots and lots of top tips on FPP in that show, didn't you?
Yes.
That was a super cute book. There were 17 different animal blocks.
There were different sizes
Gorgeous.
to make different things, lovely.
Absolutely lovely. Syl's been eating a cheese sandwich and was so distracted that she dropped some cheese down her buzzwams.
Oh dear.
Um,
Save it for later.
Auntie Lizzie can't believe people will upload odd stuff. Auntie Lizzie, you know the type of people there are in this world. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful things that get loaded up. And we get rid of them quite quickly and before you all get to see them. Auntie Lizzie also says that she loves the colour of the batiks, and are they new to us? We've had quite an extensive collection of batiks for a while now, haven't we?
We have,
And we
yes.
generally bring them out and use them in kits. We did have them up cut to order for a little while, but no, we try
We're
and
down
utilise
to
them
the
in
last
kits.
few bits now, and
Yeah.
it's great for the kits and things.
We
yeah.
do struggle sometimes to get them in stock, so they're not necessarily up cut to order. They are something that we keep back and use in
Yes.
projects like this one.
Yeah.
Because you've seen we've used batiks in the block here, the last month's, your sandcastle.
I think there's pretty much a bit of batik in most of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, this obviously the grass and the sky, they're very adaptable. I mean, in your Baltimore style block as well, we've used them for the flowers because they give some texture.
Yes.
And it's just
A little bit of shading that
Yeah.
just stops it looking quite so flat as it can when you use a plain.
And we've got, quite a lot of the borders have a bit of batik going on as well towards
Yes.
the end here. But there's that kind of moodiness to a sky when you put that in, or,
Yeah,
just adds some atmosphere, doesn't it?
I think so.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
We are big batik fans here, so yes. Oh, I think that's everybody's comments. If I've missed anyone, I'm sorry. Anne Roberts says, a good sewing instruction today looks a lot easier than I thought.
Yes. Please don't be frightened of
This
it.
is the thing. We
Please
do
don't be.
try.
Give it a go, because this is a very straightforward FPP piece. It's not difficult at all.
And it's a small component of the overall block, which
Yes.
is just normal piecing. And all squares and half square triangles mostly.
That's it. Yeah.
We do try and bring you projects that are accessible and are straightforward. I mean, part of that's because we like to do a full demo in a show. How many of the programs
Yes, you don't
can,
get many of
boast
those,
that?
do you? No.
Exactly. So we do try and make sure that everything is straightforward and accessible and easy to do. Natasha will be here tomorrow and Wednesday. She's got some fabulous makes for you. I've been creating those instructions. They are stunning.
Lovely.
She's been giving you some little sneaky peeks over on social media. If you're wondering where, have a look on Facebook on Natasha Makes or on her Natasha McCarty page. She's a temptress.
She is. She's got some lovely things.
She's got some lovely things. She's also got some absolutely phenomenal new fabrics from Japan.
They are lovely.
They are absolutely beautiful, not to be missed. She will be here at 10 o'clock tomorrow. And Jane, unless you've got anything else to add, I think
I don't think I have.
We're going to get in their warehouse and help cut and pack some orders. It's all hands to the pump
It
here,
is.
as always.
As always, yeah.
We are a tiny team. We do appreciate your support. The shows that you see, we bring to you for free. And what keeps us here is your purchases. So thank you for your orders. We're going to go and pack those now. And we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
Bye.